Okay, so while they set up, I'll talk a little bit about what I did. I am in love with Finnegans Wake. I found out about it, I think about a year ago, and I lost sleep that night. Immediately I was like, this is crazy. Like, I didn't believe it. Like, I think people are dramatic, and I was like, no, wait, it's the hardest book ever. And then I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I realized that it is so much more lyrical than narrative, right? Like, it is so lyrical, and it'd be impossible to adapt to film. It just would. It is impossible to adapt the same film. But I don't think it'd be impossible to adapt it to music, right? So yeah, big shot. So I talked about how, and when I got to this class, Pappalardo let me just have my way with this project, which is really amazing. And I talked about how, like, Joyce's oppressive language ideology in Dubliners, in Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, and in Finnegans Wake, it is very relevant to oppressive music language. I mean, we do not have the biggest vocabulary to work with in creating music that you will like the sound of. So that's kind of why it's relevant, rather than I just love Finnegans Wake and it should be made into a concept album. It's important to music that maybe necessarily you don't love the sound of what you hear, but the creator makes it because they love the sound of it, or they love the intentions behind it. So I have 4 progressions here, one for ALP, one for HCE, one for Sean, and one for Shim. And it's important to note that when you hear these, they aren't necessarily like the finished songs. They are more like musical motifs that will be behind the characters at certain places in the album. So in their current state, this is just their bare bones progression, but they'll evolve, they'll get bigger, they'll get smaller, however it's relevant to the story. Like, for example, ALP's progression will be very big and verbose at the beginning as the flow is starting, but then it'll just turn into sort of a silent trickle in the background throughout the rest of it, until the end when she's the main character again, and then it's going to be swirling violins and things in reverse and all of these things. So we're going to start with Sean, because he's really tough. He was really tough to do, and also my piano player helped me with all of this because he understands music theory a lot better than I do. He couldn't make it today. He really wanted to, but we worked on Sean, and with this progression, it's supposed to be very traditional, very rigid. It's building on plagal cadences, which are universally seen in religious settings. It's a bit performative, though, the progression is, because I get this sense that Sean is like the performer. Like, I've always gotten that. So this progression is called the performer, and I'll talk a little bit more about it once we play Shims, because it makes a little bit more sense in the context of Shims. Okay, you guys ready? Okay. This is Sean. This is the C. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That was Sean's progression. I also made it a little like rock, because even though there wasn't rock and roll at the time, in 1939, for some reason I just feel like Sean would be really into Motley Crue and all those 80s hair metal bands. I really feel that, and I talk about it a little bit in my paper. I say something like, colloquially, rock and roll applies to Sean. It just does. So for Shim, we spent like 2 hours talking about Shim, and I think it is the best one besides ALP's. But I need to talk about modernist music a little bit. So there's something called Schoenberg's 12-tone row. I talk about it in my paper a little bit. It's a big evolution in music because similarly to how like Finnegans Wake destroys syntax. Syntax is no longer what's relevant. It's more about the individual words. The 12-tone row deconstructs music sentences to focus on singular notes. So each note has the same weight rather than a string of notes form a musical idea that you understand. So in music theory, there is the 1, there is the 2, the 3, there's the 4, my handwriting is really bad, 5, there's going to be a 6, and a 7. This is basically your sentence structure, but for music. So like when you've got the object, the predicate of a sentence, these things, this is how we form sentences and we understand meaning. In music, this is what everyone uses to make meaning. I mean, this is the tonic, it's the home, everything is pulled back towards this. Everything is in relation to the tonic. There's the dominant, everything works around these things. And they do not have equal weight. They pull and push between each other, and that's how we understand things in music. What the 12-tone row does is it's chromatic, so it's equal weight between each note rather than this push and pull where this is not going to sound as heavy as this is going to sound. So a lot of scholars have talked about how Schoenberg and Joyce created this sort of like anti-structure form. And it's emphasis on the singular rather than the serial, right? So in making Schim's progression, we thought that it'd be really useful to do the modernist music, right? Because it's inspired by Joyce. So with Schim's progression, it is 12 chords, each a single note of the 12-tone row, isolated to its single chord. The progression doesn't exactly resolve very well because Schim is exiled from home. It doesn't reach the tonic, or sometimes called the home chord. It just kind of keeps cycling forward, and it's not very complete. It's kind of tragic, but it's very complicated and kind of beautiful. And then one last thing I'll say about this progression is, if anybody has their books, it's okay if not. There's on page 272 when you're in the classroom, Schim randomly just throws some music notes in the side and the margin. We added into this progression just as a little like melodic tag. It sounds way cooler. Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. It sounds way cooler than I ever thought it would. Could one of you play it so that they can like listen out for this in the progression? It's just that. Yeah, it's just that, but listen out for it when we play the progression because it's like one of my favorite things. It's so cool to me. But okay, this is going to be Schim's progression, or called The Artist. Okay. 2, 3, 4. definitely my piano player's favorite. He thinks it's the greatest chord progression he's ever come up with. Next we'll do HDEs. This one is definitely still being workshopped. It's really difficult to decide on doing something menacing or triumphant. It's both, right? So this progression leans a little bit more towards the menacing because I couldn't get over it. It's using the bass notes, the progression kind of just descends and ascends over and over, and it's sort of like HDE climbing back up and falling right back down, and climbing back up and falling right back down. So this one is called the Conqueror. Okay. Okay. Oh, I can't remember what I got. I think it's in 3/4. 1, 2, 3. F minor. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. And for the last one, this is going to be ALPs. I'll write a little bit more on the board just because I don't think I'll get the chance again.
That's why I became a teacher, was to just be able to continuously write on the board.
It's nice, right? And once I get my handwriting figured out, my next degree, I guess. So this was the first one we came up with, and what I did is I fed the piano player a lot of information about Finnegans Wake and ALP, and was expecting to like have to work with him on it after feeding him the information, and like he immediately threw this at me, and it's an F minor over A flat, and I think it's to a B major 6. So he threw this at me, and the way he played it, I was like, you got it, we're good, we got it. Immediately, it was really good. And it was because of this F minor. This chord is a minor chord, and minor chords are typically associated with sorrow, melancholy, very sad. But because the A flat is in the bass, it actually sounds very sweet and almost major. So the reason he came up with this is I told him that ALP was sort of someone who was just trying to keep her family together and put a positive spin on a minor situation, right? And he just happened to choose F minor. And I was like, well, what is she really concealing? It's the effing of the minor in Phoenix Park. I actually got to use the F word in my paper, and I didn't get flagged for it. I was really happy about that. So what is being concealed here, what is sounding major, but the true state is minor, is this effing of the minor. And what's really beautiful is that the other progression you heard of Shim is F major. He turns it into a positive light. The big change we want to make to HDE is we want to make him in the key of C, because that's the dominant of the F minor. But it's just tough. There's so many different, it's like what influence do you want to be supreme when you create it? So anyways, we're gonna jam this one out just a little bit more because music we've made in the past is kind of like adjacent to this, so it's a little bit more comfortable. You don't remember? Okay.
No, you just started.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all of them. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
That's the guy from Miss Mary Road.
Everyone go listen to Miss Mary Road.
Yeah, if you guys like our music, we have a band as well. But that isn't our music yet, but it could be.
It should be.
It should be.
I would love it if Miss Mary Rose made a
Finnegans
Finnegans
Wake
Wake concept album.
Please.
I think I'd lose my mind.
That was awesome. I think Jabert's gonna have the band.
Interludes
Yeah.
between the songs is just all of us reading our papers.
Some of us.
Thank you so much for this amazing performance. I found it very moving because